G'day and welcome to another episode of 3-Minute Histology with Jamie Chapman. Today we're going to be looking at the parotid salivary gland. It's one of the 3 paired major salivary glands which we find associated with the oral cavity. So let's start our 3 minutes. So the first thing to see at this magnification is that common to all of the 3 major salivary glands is they all have this dense irregular connective tissue capsule. You can see this on the outside here and you can see some large blood vessels. The other thing that they have in common is that this dense connective tissue capsule throws in these connective tissue septa, and these septa divide the gland into lobules. So here's one lobule here, there's another one there, another one there, another one there, and so on. And we know that this is an exocrine gland, so it releases its secretion into a duct, which eventually then empties onto the surface of the epithelium from which it was derived. So any ducts which we find within these lobules are actually referred to as intralobular ducts, and in the major salivary glands they're either intercalated or striated ducts, and we'll have a look at what they look like. Now, the parotid salivary gland out of all 3 is the only one that is entirely serous. So there's no mucus acini, there's only serous acini. We can see there's a fair amount of adipose tissue distributed amongst the serous acini. If we zoom in, we can see the sort of classic features of a serous acinus. It's sort of circularly shaped. The cells which are present, the secretory cells, have these round, basally located nuclei. You might also notice that the base of the cells have this general basophilia, a little bit purple, darker, and that's probably a reflection of the fact that there's lots of rough endoplasmic reticulum, because the base of the cell is about producing the protein, the serous component, and then the top of the cell is where that protein's stored and eventually released into the intercalated ducts, which is the first of the duct series of the intralobular ducts. So we zoom out a little bit, we'll be able to see some of these features. So here we've got our ducts. They're quite pale acidophilic compared to the more basophilic staining secretory acini. We have a look at this duct. You might be able to notice some sort of little stripes associated with these cells. This duct here is referred to as a striated duct, and it's called striated because of these little stripes. And what they represent are basolateral membranous infoldings. So unlike the top of the cell, the apical portion of the cell where you can have cell membrane extensions like microvilli, you can't have that on the base because of course these cells are sitting on a basement membrane. So rather than having projections of the cell membrane outwards, they actually project their cell membranes inwards, and that's what forms these basolateral membranous infoldings. And in between those membranous infoldings we can find mitochondria. Mitochondria are acidophilic, the membranes are acidophilic, and we end up with this sort of striated appearance. Basically it means that these duct cells can actually modify the secretion, so they absorb ions and so forth. So that's a quick overview of the parotid salivary gland. I hope you got something out of that anyway.